In less than 24 hours, Jermaine called us. We gave him the tape and a phone number where we were.
Okay.
In less than 24 hours, Jermaine called us and said, I like your tape. What do you want? Well, we want a deal. Of course. He says, well, right now I'm at the hospital with Hazel, but maybe we can meet. And then he decided, he said, hey, it's in Hollywood. If you guys are in Hollywood, maybe you can come over here and hang out with me and we can talk. Well, we got on the bus and went exactly where he was. Now, here is an amazing story, man. Let me tell you this, Nnamdi. We're there talking to Jermaine. We're hanging with him. Hazel's in labor. And we're talking to Jermaine. We're talking to Jermaine in the waiting room for a good hour. Maybe an hour, 15 minutes pass. And then who should walk in but Mrs. Jackson, LaToya, Reby, and Janet. Jermaine introduces us to his family. They welcome us like family. We all get to talking and hanging for another half hour, 45 minutes. Then who should walk in that door but Michael, Randy, Marlon, and Jackie. So we're surrounded by the Jacksons, and they're treating us weak. So we meet everybody, and they're treating us like family.
Hey guys, want to welcome you to another edition of Halftime Chat. And enjoying the fact I'm going back to the old logo, must be the music, because I think it captures the core of what the Halftime Chat was about, really focusing on the journey and the music. And so I'm really excited to speak to the legendary Gregory Williams, the founder of the group Switch. And for most of us, we're aware of Switch when they had There'll Never Be, I Call Your Name, Best Beat in Town, but at the time fronted by the late Bobby DeBarge. And so we're going to talk about how they got discovered by Jermaine Jackson, signed to Motown, and a lot. So I hope you enjoy the journey. And yes, we'll talk to Gregory. Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. Gregory, it is definitely an honor that you've taken time out this evening to join us on Halftime Chat. I've spent the last 5 years really celebrating a lot of the journey of our favorite artists, and especially a group like yourselves, Switch, which has been has left a lasting and legacy with our community. And the fact that you guys are still on the road is an amazing tribute as well to the longevity and the love for the music. So it's going to be great talking to you and hearing about your journey and your story.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure, and I thank you very much for having me on.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Well, thank you. Well, we've got an international audience, and I always like to start off by asking where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and
Okay.
I came up 186 miles away from Chicago and 186 miles from Detroit. So I was in the middle of two music meccas. But where I was, it was like piping in sunlight to get good R&B music. But Grand Rapids, there it is, right there in the middle of it all.
Growing up, what was it like growing up then for you? I mean, were you into music, or was it football, basketball? I mean, what was it
Oh,
like?
my entire life. My entire life, man. I mean, my very first performance, I was 5 years old in a kindergarten
Wow.
play. I was surrounded by it. My dad was a saxophonist who primarily focused on jazz. My mom was a singer, and she was exclusively in the church groups and stuff like that. She might
Okay.
do a little secular around the house while we're cleaning up and things like that, but she would only sing publicly for the church when she did. So,
Okay.
and she came from a family of 13.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, yeah. And all of her siblings, except the last two who were younger than me, all of them played music, sang and played music. So I grew up around that and that musical influence.
Wow. Before going on, when you talk about your mom being a child of 13, what was the family like that families were having children, that many children, and supporting? I mean, because with thinking about where we are now, where you have lots of single mothers and stuff. What was the community, black community, like in from what you can remember?
Well, yeah, in Grand Rapids, well, for the most part, at that time, families were having big families. We grew up around the corner from there was quite a few families with 8, 9, 10 children, but
Wow.
around the corner from us, there's a family called the Belchers, and there was 17 kids. So
Woohoo.
imagine that. But
Wow.
yeah, so that was part of it. Now, strangely enough, my mom only had 5 of us.
She said only. That's,
Yeah, she only had 5 of us. Well, by comparison, I mean, I'm growing up against these football teams and stuff. So.
wow.
And actually, my mom was a young mom when I was born. She was 19 years old.
Wow.
So I grew up with her siblings as my brothers and sisters as well.
Wow.
And again, as I said, all of them sang and all of them played instruments. So all this teaching and all this musical influence was a part of my coming up. So I didn't know that my personality said yes, but I had opportunity and was asked to sing in a Christmas play, and I did. And from that point on, the bug had bit me. That's what I was going to do my entire life.
So growing up then, did you navigate towards the singing or when did the different instruments that you're known to
At
play?
7 years old, I picked up the trumpet. My dad and I had talked about it because I wanted to do what he did.
Oh,
He told me to tell the teachers in class when it came to music class, tell them I wanted to play the clarinet. Well, I didn't get that clear, and so I wound up playing the cornet. When he said cornet, I said yes, and so I took it, thinking that it was going to get me to the saxophone, not knowing it was actually taking me to the trumpet. But once I had it, and I was working with it, and I was learning it. So I wound up being a trumpet player.
what about the singing? Did you stop? Did that stop then or?
Oh God, always, man. I mean, even before kindergarten, I was singing. The whole family sang, so that's what we
Okay.
did. In fact,
Okay.
in my autobiography, I talk about me being 3, 4 years old, and me and my cousin Squeaky, who was a few months younger than me, singing in the closet as little bitty kids. So yeah.
What was it like? Because as we progress with your music career, I guess those of us who are international are very much aware of how segregated America was back in those days, and we've seen the Temptations and Motown how they sometimes struggled with segregation when they played in the South. In Michigan, what was that like growing up in America then?
Well, let's say more exclusively Grand Rapids, because
Yeah.
Grand Rapids, to be honest with you, even now reminds me of what I've learned about apartheid.
Wow.
Still a very racist town. Still very as you stay over there and don't come over here.
Wow.
That's why, I mean, even now, I live in Georgia, but I spent I've been here about 5 years, a little over 5 years. Prior to that, I spent roughly 40 years in California. When it was time for me to make a change from California, it was a question of coming to Georgia or going to Grand Rapids, but the question went away real quick because I refused to go someplace where anyone wants to treat me like I'm less than. And
Even
in
to
Grand
today.
Rapids, I found that to be the case with Black people. They treat you like you're less than, blatantly. Now here and it probably surprised you. Well, how could you go to the South? Well, I went to the South of the United States is known for its racism, of course, as well.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, Georgia, is a different climate. It's a different thought process, and for the most part, racism is alive and well anywhere in the world. But in Atlanta, African American people thrive. You know, you can go into a doctor's office and look like the person that's there, or go in a
Yeah.
grocery store and see people like you and things like that for the most part. So that's why I came this way. Well, not why I came this way, but it was more acceptable for me to come this way. You know,
Yeah.
I came here because I have family here and I've got friends that I grew up with, grade school and high school. There's about a dozen of us that we get together. We dreamed together when we were kids. We prayed together. We talked about what we're going to become. And now we're grandparents and we're still together talking about what we're doing.
No,
So,
that's what you call being blessed.
absolutely, man. Honestly, absolutely. So,
You know, I moved to the States in 92 to go to college and I worked. So I was in the States for 10 years. My
okay.
fam uncle was in he was a doctor in Selma, Alabama. I don't know if you know Selma, Alabama.
Yes, I am very familiar with it.
Yeah, so I lived out in Selma But then I went to college in Milwaukee, and it was night and day because
Yes.
in Selma, when I moved there in '92, the mayor of Selma was still the same mayor that said that when Martin says we're going to march from Selma to Montgomery, he was still in office in '92 when I
Oh
was
God.
into town. But I never felt more at home in a place in America than when I was in the South, because I felt that sense of if we didn't like you, you would know about it. But if they liked you, there was the Southern hospitality. I think, Milwaukee and Michigan, the borders, and very
Yes.
similar. I
Yes,
felt
we are.
I felt that distinct sense of you're not welcome more so in Milwaukee than any other part of America. And I lived in California for 5 years. And so when you speak about Grand Rapids, I can like, wow, I didn't
Yeah.
think it was still happening. Um,
It
but
is
then
alive and well still. Yes.
how did you then, growing up with your large family around you, how did you then were you aware of how things were and determined to rise above it, or does it have a hold on you growing up?
Well, you know something, it was an intricate part of my growing up, the racism. It was, there are certain lines you just don't cross and you deal with it because it's a part of what you've got to deal with, period. I didn't really acknowledge the extent of how racist Grand Rapids was until I moved to California and I found a lot of people, that life was just different than that. Although again, racism's in America, but it was not so overt
Mm,
and it was not so intense.
mm,
And plus, me being in entertainment, there was a certain level of acceptance above and
mm.
beyond, other occupations.
Okay.
So I acknowledged it when I went back and visited, and I saw what my family and my friends were still dealing with. That's when it had the greatest impact on me, that I could never live a life like that again.
Wow. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that category.
And somewhere in between
us for even loving us, on which I did miss you really.
What was it like growing up?
She's still making an impact on 4 houses down.
I have a couple of pieces.
trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay, you're okay.
They don't understand what Jodeci's voice meant in all spirits.
Play it.
And all these guys, they all work together.
I mean, I love all different genres.